Well, it's the big test, guys. Can you hear me? I'm hoping you can because my profile picture is pulsating. So please, somebody tell me you can hear me. I love the fact that I'm having to say, is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Can you hear me? Oh, are you seriously? Oh my, way. Well, I don't know what went wrong there, guys. I'm so sorry. And it's, oh, honest to goodness. Oh, I'm so glad. Hey, Nonny. Hey, Mark and Betty, batshit crazy. Thank you so much for sticking around. Lisa. Oh, God. Please tell me now. Am I too loud? Am I okay? I have no idea what went on, what went wrong, but all I know is I restarted the computer, which is so slow. I think that hi, Rondi. Thank you for sticking around. Good. Thank you, Rondi. I just don't want to be shouting. I used to shout with the computer mic because I don't know, you just think no one can hear you. And so I've got this new mic that doesn't sit very well. But anyway, it's working and that's the main thing. Oh, thank you. Oh, what a stress. But I took the opportunity to let the dogs out and yeah, just kind of make a list of what I want to talk about so that I'm a little bit more structured, because I can be a little bit all over the place because I just kind of think I'm sitting here chatting to my mates, which I think I am. But I don't want to miss anything out because I know even in yesterday's live, I sort of ended the stream, but I was so tired yesterday. But I did forget a couple of things, but I'm not doing that tonight. I'm not going to do Idaho 4. This is about mediums and we're chilling out on a Sunday. It's a spooky Sunday, which I haven't done for so long. And yeah, we're going to talk about our experiences with mediums. I'm going to show you a very famous medium that the UK had back in the mainly 80s. I think she was massive, early 80s. She passed away, I think, 1986. So anybody, oh, good. I'm so glad, Rondi. Thank you. And thank you all for joining me and for sticking with me. I can't bear technical issues. It drives me crazy because I'm okay with technical stuff when, you know, it's like in my own time and I'm trying to solve the issue. But when you're ready to go live and it all goes wrong, you're like, oh my God, please. So yeah, there we go. Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Rondi. So did you see what I did there? Look, beyond the veil. Yeah, that came to me this afternoon. Not beyond the pale, beyond the veil. So I have pinned the StreamYard link if anybody wants to come up in a bit and talk about their experiences or their beliefs or things they've heard about mediums. I find it a subject that is absolutely fascinating. I've always been very interested, and I do have my own belief that I think some people can communicate or get messages or visions. I'm very, very open-minded, but I also have my feet firmly on the ground. And yeah, I've had a couple of experiences myself that I will share with you. But first of all, I don't know, we've Mark and Betty, I think you're UK. So please, I'm going to show something now just to break us into this. Do you remember Doris Stokes? Oh, Rondi, we'll have to look into that. Possibly. See, I've got this. Let me see if I can change that. That's better, isn't it? That's much better. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there with my with my show. Yeah, I've had too many things batshit crazy where I can't ignore them, and it's personal experience, and I can completely understand that people are skeptical. I'm skeptical of some people claiming to be mediums, without a doubt, but I can completely understand people who haven't had any of that sort of experience themselves, they would kind of be like, whatever. But yeah, there's been some things that I've experienced where I think I can't ignore that. And there's one big one I'll tell you about in a bit. But okay, well, that's good, Mark and Betty, because I'm going to introduce you guys to Doris Stokes. Now, Doris Stokes was, I'm going to show you her picture now. Let's see if I can have a look at this lady. Now, this, she's coming up. This lady, Doris Stokes, look at her. That was her book, Voices in My Ear, the autobiography of a medium. Now, we have this very sweet elderly lady. Yes, Rondi, do you know, has anybody here heard of Doris Stokes? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't, but I remember her in my lifetime being the most famous medium. Hi, Christy. Thank you for joining us. She was the most famous medium. I say UK, but she traveled via private jet, this little lady here. Private jet. She did Australian tours, and she went out to America. And do you know what? This is a fact, and I will play it for you. They stopped recording Charlie's Angels because Doris Stokes was coming to, you know, spread her gift to anyone who wanted to listen. Oh, have you, Christy? Oh, well, please don't give the game away because, well, you might not believe some things and you might believe others. So this is our Doris. I think I want to show you some footage of Doris, and I would love you to just have a look. I mean, it's old videos, so, you know, bear that in mind. I don't know how the audio is going to be, but she was massive, absolutely massive. My mum loved her. Everyone was like, oh, it's Doris Stokes. My mum was really quite into this stuff because her sister, my auntie, is quite sort of witchy, let's put it that way, herself. So I'm going to find you now Doris at the Barbican. Now, this is her, where, I mean, there's a little bit of her show, but I kind of jumped ahead because she's a bit of a performer. She does sort of tell funny stories, and she tells of the time her cat was poorly, and, you know, she asked the spirits to tell her what was wrong with her cat, and the spirits said, your cat's got toothache. And so she phoned the vet and said, can you come and see my cat because my cat's got toothache? And they were all a bit freaked out by her. So she kind of tells all these funny sort of stories in quite an entertaining, performing kind of way. Hey, Mama Bear, so good to see you. Yeah, I'm sorry about the technical issues. And I agree with that, Lisa. I really do. So I'm going to play you a little bit about Doris, well, her performance at the Barbican in London. It's obviously a theatre setting. It's very dated, so we'll test the audio. And she's done her performing funny story bit, and this is the first few moments where she is communicating with spirits, allegedly. Okay, so bear with me. I'm just going to find this part. I'm going to share the screen. Let me just see, share screen. Right, let's see if I can, let me see. Right, can you see that? Right, that's not right, is it? Hang on. That's the one I want to share. There we are. Okay, guys, you ready? Let me see if I can just change that. No, I don't like that. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to play, and please tell me if you can hear her.
They say a consultation. Where I come from, dear, you get a cup of tea and a sticky bun and you get a sitting. But that's what you come for, the sitting, not the consultation bit. Well, this man went to this medium, and when she finished, he said, "That was very interesting. Do you mind if I ask your guide a question?" And he turned to go out, and then he turned and said,
I'm just going to stop that there because that's the end of one of it. She does a lot of these funny stories. So hang on, I'm just going to try and find the part where she begins.
very proud of being a spiritualist, religious fanatic in the office, and say, name was Craig.
Right. Okay.
I'll just staying in the tea. Oh. Come on, my son, I've got a young voice coming in. I think he said his name was Craig. Does anybody recognize somebody called Craig? Wait a minute, it's Shirley is looking for. Where are we? Shirley Wood. Where are we, love? Can you make yourself way down, love? Will I go on that ring? Just a minute, my son. No. Wait a minute. Come down here, love. Your name's what, love?
My name's Shirley, but it's not Wood.
And have you got a young boy over called Craig?
Yes.
I thought I heard Wood. Wait a minute, love. I've got another one. Are you Shirley Wood, love?
No, it's not Shirley.
No. Wait a minute, Craig. Wait. Stay there, love. I'll get your Craig. Wait a minute, love. See if you can give me a bit more to that. Woodlands Road or Woodlands Avenue?
Woodlands means something to this lady.
It's you, is it, love? We've got. Oh, that's all right. Come on, Pet. Craig was digging me in the back and he's saying, "Give her the address, you fool. Give her the address." He's a bit cheeky, isn't he? He's only a lad, though, love.
Yes.
He's only 16, I think.
That's right.
About that, you
Yes.
know, he's digging me in the back and he's saying, "Give her the address." See if you can give me a bit more, then, love. Something Woodlands. I know Woodlands Park. No, it's Woodlands Road or Woodlands Avenue or something.
It's Woodland Way.
Woodlands Way. I knew we were right with the Woodlands, Craig. He hasn't long been over, lovey,
That's right.
because the light's very small.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh no." But I wonder where I got the. It says something, isn't it? Your name, Shirley. You are.
Yes.
I wonder where I got. Your name's Woods, though.
No, my name is Young.
Your name's Shirley.
Yes. Yes.
Shirley Young.
Yes.
Oh, it's the Woodlands. I'm sorry, love. I told you it's anybody's guess till we get started, love. I'm sorry, Craig. Yes. Go on, my love. Always singing happy birthday. Now, whose birthday?
It's his dad's next.
Pardon?
His father's.
Yeah, who's John?
A friend of his.
He said she saw John recently.
Yes.
And you were talking about Craig to him.
Yes.
Can I ask you how you passed, Craig? Yes. 29. Does he mean the date of his passing or a number, or what did he say to me then?
29 doesn't mean anything. 25th.
26, darling.
25th.
25th, love. Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. Look, it keeps going over to talk to you, and I have to keep going over. You'll have to stay with me, my old love. Yes. Tell me, you've got some hair belonging to him in a locket or something.
Yes.
Haven't you, love?
Yes.
What did you put where you killed, lovey? Oh, no, dear, no. No, Doris, he said I had leukemia. Or a form of cancer.
Yes.
Well, I said leukemia, he said cancer.
Yes.
And because I think it sounds better to parents. Did you suffer a lot, love? The last 2 years was pretty dreadful, he said. Yeah, who's Bill he's talking about?
Don't know.
Bill or Bert, spirit side.
Don't know.
And who's Anne?
Don't know.
It's not Adrian, is it? I wish you'd stay with me and not go to your mum. No, take your time, lovey, take your time. Yes. You didn't what? Were you? And now stay with me close, dear, otherwise I can't hear you. He said he was very gratified at the funeral. There were so many people there. They stood outside, he said.
Yes.
They stood outside. And he said, tell Mum I didn't like those needles.
No.
Although I never grumbled, I don't think. I tried to be brave because of my mum.
Mm-hmm.
And he's such a loving boy. And he's got freckles over his... I just saw him for a split second and he's got freckles
Yes.
just over his nose. I didn't see the whole of him. I just saw his face and the freckles just over his nose.
Yes.
As he put his face to the side of you, lovey. Yes. What, my love? Thomas. Who's Tom?
A friend of his, I think.
And he said, give my love to everybody and tell them I'm all right. You are going on a holiday, Mum, aren't you?
I don't know.
You know, you at the moment, he said, you're feeling you don't want to. But he said, wherever you go, I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
And who's Lily?
His aunt.
Living.
Yes.
Push my hand forward, Craig. You're getting the hang of it now, son, aren't you? He said, you're right, it is hard work. It is, love. And he's talking about, he said, remember me to Auntie Lily?
Yes.
Because she felt it very badly too.
Yes, she did.
And who's Harry?
Don't know.
Or Barry, could that be?
Barry.
Living?
Yes.
It's not Harry, it's got to be Barry. He's over there again, doesn't want to go far from you. And talking about something about you moving, I don't quite know what he said then. Are you moving, Shirley? No, she isn't, love. Who's moved? Somebody's moved. Oh. No, I don't quite understand you, love. Yes. They moved you, is that what you said? They moved him just before he passed. Does he mean they moved him from one room to another, or?
I don't know, Doris. Don't think so.
I don't know what you mean, darling. Don't upset yourself. He gets very...
Yes, he does.
If I don't get it right first time, you know, he said, why don't you listen?
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening, love, but you keep going over to your mum and then I lose you. Who's Margaret? I heard that.
Sorry?
Margaret.
Possibly an aunt.
Living.
Yes.
And he said they moved him or something, or they were going to move him, and then he went over quite quickly.
Yes, he did.
And he said, you didn't say goodbye.
No.
And that's where I knew. Well, you don't have to, Mum, do you? Because I'm here.
No.
No, that's not the thing I'm on. Okay, so that is Doris. No, she died shortly after that, actually. She had cancer. And now she was really very famous. And I'm now going to read to you a little bit about our Doris. She actually died in a year after that. I'm going to read from Wikipedia, but I've read articles as well. So her professed ability to communicate with the dead, public performances, television appearances, and memoirs made her a household name in Britain. She was a controversial figure, with some believing her to possess psychic abilities. But, here's the but, investigations published after her death demonstrated that she used techniques including cold reading, hot reading, and planting accomplices in her audience, giving the appearance of having paranormal abilities. So she first came to the public attention in 1978 during a visit to Australia. She played to 3 capacity audiences. She was the first medium to appear at the London Palladium, and the tickets sold out in 2 hours. She was especially believable because of her smiling, down-to-earth manner, which avoided the traditional trappings of the séance and gave her performances almost the ordinariness of a transatlantic telephone call. In 1980, her first autobiographical volume, Voices in My Ear, was published, pulling her further into the public eye. She was, and this isn't a surprise, condemned by the Church of England and other Christian denominations, which objected to spirit communication as an offence to God. But she countered that her work was done for God. So she had poor health throughout her life, which is very sad. She had 13 or so cancer operations. She had an operation in 87, and sadly she didn't regain consciousness. This is the bit that makes me laugh. Described variously as, quote, an individual of great personal warmth, the gracy fields of the psychic world, and a ruthless money-making confidence artist. So she did give free consultations, but she was accused of various forms of deception to achieve the effect of communicating with the dead. Now, I read that she planted members of the audience. So it became apparent, I think after her death, that she would always book 2 or 3 rows of theatre seats in every performance that she gave. And she would plant people in the audience, but I also read that these plants were oblivious to the fact that she was using them because of the knowledge she already had of them. So quite often she would be called by certain people, you know, wanting readings or people who wanted advice from her. And she would get to know quite a lot about certain families. And then what she would do was she would invite them as a special guest to her show, and they would feel like, oh, how wonderful. And more often than not, those particular people, she would bring them up and bring up information about those people, and sort of reel it off. So when we look at that particular performance, I suppose, it's quite obvious then to me that she's getting a lot wrong. She has actually got information. She knows that this lady Shirley, she will, in my opinion, have known that she lost a son to cancer. I would put money on it that she invited this poor lady to go and see her. And she will have read the obituaries, and she will have read the funeral notices and all of those things. So she would have known there was a Harry or a Barry or someone was still living. And yes, Christy, it is really disappointing. And she probably was very intuitive. But the other thing that I've learned tonight when I was looking this up, there is actually a technique, and I have spotted it myself because I've gone to quite a few of these, an audience with a medium things. And I've two I particularly went to were embarrassing. You know, I thought, oh my God, this is just generic stuff. And there is what's it called? Let me see if I can find it. There is a technique. And basically what they do is they use very generic things and apply it to the person in front of them. And then they say, for example, in that reading there, she said, you've got a piece of hair in a locket. At that time, I think it would be very hard to find someone who didn't have a piece of hair in a locket. My mum had one, and it was my hair, and I'm alive. You know, it was sort of the done thing. So she would say things, you know, like she'll have got the name Lily from somewhere and then said, oh, he sends his love to Lily. She took it hard. And you can see this lady saying, yes, oh, yeah, she did actually. And there's another, I'll play the next bit in a minute. So now I've sort of spilled the beans a bit. I would love you to just watch the next bit. And I remember believing in her as a child and my mum loving her. And then years later, finding out she was a con artist was disappointing, really disappointing. But it still brings tears to my eyes, because Shirley there lost her son who was 16 and he had cancer. And Doris is saying, you know, the last 2 years were particularly hard. Yes, they were. Well, of course they were. You know, do you know what I mean? It's things like that where you think, and Shirley's clinging on to the hope that her son is there. And did you notice that when she got things wrong, she kept saying, oh, he keeps going over to you. Now, come on, Craig, you need to stay with me. Otherwise, other people are going to come in and I'm not going to hear you properly. And I can see it clear as day now, what she's doing. So I'm just going to try now, bear with me, and find the next bit. It's the same reading. It's the Barbican 1986, and it's part 3. So I'm just going to line it up for us. Bear with. I'm going to try and skip the advert before I share it, and let me go back. I think it goes back, but just watch now. Hang on, that wasn't pause. Just watch now, and bear in mind that I'll try and find the term for that. I think it was another article I read. Is it something like the Barry technique or something like that, where they'll use the generic stuff? And there's also this cold reading where they will just go off what the person's giving them. They will read the body language and they'll see if they're going a bit wrong and then quickly fire back something like, Craig, you've got to stay with me. Oh, you know. Now, before I carry on, I have got to say I do believe some people really do have the gift, and I do believe other people are con artists. And I can't help but like Doris. And you know what? If somebody gets comfort from this, then she's not doing a bad thing. And she did do a lot of free consultations. And maybe, like Rondi said, she was particularly intuitive, and maybe she got those sort of feelings. I don't know. But she was outed, I'm afraid, guys. So now we know that. I'm just doing a kind of, here's one that isn't, you know, you can't help but love her and like her. And you can see why she sort of sucks people in and they warm to her, because it's like your nan, isn't it? You almost imagine her getting the tea leaves out and reading the tea leaves. And, I love all that. But our Doris, I think, was, a little bit naughty. Let's put it that way. But appearances can be deceptive. So I'm going to just play you this bit. Let me see if I can share the screen again. Share screen, and I'm going to do this one now. Okay, guys, I might have to fast forward to the part. I think this kind of overlaps, so bear with me a second. So do you see that? Do you see what she did there? It's very clever. She got something wrong then. It's like, yeah. See, if you keep popping off, someone else pops in, and that smile. Now I can see can you hear me? Because, yeah, sorry, I had the colour wheel going round and round. So just watch her now. Just watch her with con artist in the back of your head, and just watch her technique, because it's really, I think, helpful if you do ever go to a medium or an audience with a medium and watch. I think you can quickly work out who's genuine and who isn't. I find this fascinating as well. I don't think I'm sharing, am I? Can you not see it? No, thank you. Right, hang on. I think I've lost. Let's try that. Okay, I think she's back. Thank you, guys. I'm just going to get rid of that so we can see it. And here comes the rest of the reading.
He's living.
Yes.
And he said, yes, there were, oh, I don't know if I should say that though. Do you mind?
No.
He said, you see, my dad, whose birthday I was singing happy birthday for, that has just passed, just gone.
Yes.
He's my stepfather, but I love him more than anything in the world.
That's right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
He said, so will you tell him?
Yes.
That
He's here, actually, Doris.
Oh, well, your dad's here, love. He said he was my stepdad, but I love him more than anything in the world.
Yes.
And I used to get a bit irritable sometimes, and my dad used to calm me down.
Yes, he did.
So I wouldn't upset you, Mum. Oh, I do love you. I do love you. And I thank him for everything, every single thing. If I wanted anything, Doris, and he could get it for me, he'd do it. He'd get it for me.
Yes, he did.
And I love him more than anything in the world. Who's Jack?
Don't know.
Jack Spiritside. John called Jack.
My uncle, probably.
Spiritside.
Yes.
He said his name's John, but they always call him Jack. He's here
Yes.
with him. Then there's somebody called Mary.
Don't know.
We don't know the Mary. What about your husband? Think of his side as well. Who's Ellen? Call her Nellie.
Ellie,
Ellie.
his sister.
Oh, I thought you said Ellen called me, Nicole and Ellie. He said, no, give a big hug to my Ellie. Ooh, good.
Her name's Helen, but we call her Ellie.
Ellie. And I thought he said, Ellen, call her Nellie. And he said, why don't you listen? We call her Ellie. He said, she'll be so certain I've been back.
Yeah.
Because he said, they were very kind. He said, oh dear, really, love? Is that right, that up to 14 he lived a normal life? I thought
Up to 12, actually.
He said, I used to play football and do things. And then in my early teens, this business started.
Yes. And then he went into remission for 18 months.
What, my love?
Then he went into remission for 18 months.
Oh. Oh, never mind, my son. You're well and fit now, aren't you? He said, yes, I'm as handsome as ever. Yeah, I'm as handsome as ever.
Yeah.
You know, oh, love, if only you could see him and hear him the way I do.
Wish I could.
But he said, April is important this month. So there's a birthday just gone, which was his dad's. Then there's something else happens in April. A wedding anniversary belonging to somebody. Doesn't mean a thing to, does it?
No.
I think you've let somebody else in, Craig, my love. Yes. No, I'm sorry about the Woods, dear. And you were trying to give me the address. Well, I do the best I can, you know, son. Yes. Is that what? He's got his watch on.
Yes.
You've got his watch on, Dad? And he nods his head. He said, oh, if only I could just... But he said, I'd had enough, Mum, honest.
Yeah.
You knew I had.
Yes.
I used to dread the times when I had to go back. Although I never said anything, I used to think, if I'm not going to get better, I used to pray. I heard what you said about God, and I was at that stage where I didn't know whether there was a God or not, but did you love? So I got to that stage where I used to say, if there's a God, if I'm not going to get better, then let me go.
Yes.
Because I'd had enough.
Yes.
The pain was quite bad sometimes, Mum.
Mm.
But I'm fit now. I've been to Australia. He's been to Australia. I don't know whether you've got anybody over there, whether it's just, he's been to have a look at them.
That's right.
Got a beautiful home, Mum.
Have they?
And there's a baby going to be born over there, do you know?
No.
Oh, well, he's found out, haven't you, Craig? Who's Tony he's talking about?
His friend.
Tell Tony. Did Tony have his bike?
No.
Hugo had his bike.
Oddly enough, we sold it today.
You did? Oh, your bike's just gone today, love. Well, good. Yeah, well, it was no good to me. Now Ellie couldn't ride it, could she?
No.
Buy yourself something nice for the money, Mum.
I'm giving it to the hospital, actually, Doris.
She's giving it to the hospital, love. Well, I wish Mum would buy herself something nice, because I always used to try and remember to give her say, you see, I wasn't there for Mothering Sunday.
That's right.
So I said, never mind, love, you can have some flowers from here. And that'd be for Mother and Sunday. He said I could be a bit cheeky sometimes, Doris, but I did love my mum. And my dad's a marvellous fella.
He is.
Marvellous fella. And our Alice, she can be a bit cheeky, but she's all right. Has she got auburn hair?
No.
Keep getting this auburn hair bit. I wonder if it's because of the freckles. Never mind, my sweetheart. Yes. Some more? I don't know, dear. Did you say Robert then, or Roberts? Did you say Roberts or Robert to me then?
Don't know, Doris.
I'm not sure about it, love, so I won't take. No, it isn't. It's only 3 letters. Roy, Ray.
Ray?
Ray's his dad.
Yes.
That's who we're looking for. What are you on about? 3 letters, count it. Ray. Hello, Ray. Oh, he said, he didn't really want to come in one way because he didn't believe it. But I'm here to prove you wrong, Ray.
That's right.
I'm here to prove you wrong. He said he's wearing my watch and oh, bless his heart. You're doing fine, Craig. Yeah, and where are you going next then? You've been to Australia? Oh, have you? Well, I always said that when I got older, I'd like to travel.
Yes.
But as I couldn't do it on the earth plane, I do it over here. It doesn't cost me any money, Mum. We just think we'll go and we go. So he said, have a holiday. Don't think because I'm not there, you've got to give anything up, because I'm all right.
Okay.
And at the end of the afternoon, lovey, will you accept a bouquet of flowers from your Craig?
Yes, thank you.
With his love.
Thank you.
All right, my love. God bless you.
Thank you, Doris.
Okay, so that was Doris. I think when you're sort of aware that, you know, she's a little bit of a con artist, you can see it. And for me, that was somebody who read an obituary, might have invited the lady along because she's had a chat with her before, so she was aware of some of the names, and was sort of firing them out. And that's called cold reading. And it's kind of, was it a Robert, or Rob, Ron, Ray? It was almost like her memory was failing her. She couldn't quite remember what she read in the obituary, but she got so much wrong, and then started saying, you know, oh, Craig, you're letting someone in again. You know, he just wants to be by his mum. And when you do that, Craig, you let other people in, my love, and then laughs and is cheeky herself. And so much of that was generic. You know, I thought it was interesting that he's wearing the watch, and she picked up on the bike. You know, there wasn't social media in those days. You couldn't have typed in a name and said, you know, saw that this lady, you know, say, for example, if you put a name in Facebook now and just did a random search, you might get what they're selling on Marketplace on Facebook or something. There was none of that then. So there were a couple of interesting things, but it was like the auburn hair. She'd associated freckles. I think she'd seen a photo. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think there are, you know, those that are not to be trusted out there. And sadly, Doris Stokes was one of them. And I'm just going to read you a little bit more, which is associated with true crime, because, oh, here we are. First of all, before I move on to that, evidence of audience, plants. So Stokes' death coincided with the publication of Catholic author Ian Wilson's book, The After-Death Experience, and he presented a detailed expose of her methods. He described her as providing slick, surefire answers to the questions of life after death. He attended one of Stokes's Palladium performances when she claimed to contact the dead relatives of 4 consecutive audience members with a sequence of convincing and poignant details. However, When the participants were questioned after the performance, it turned out that each of them had actually been invited by Doris Stokes. The manager of the London Palladium explained that Stokes routinely booked the front 3 rows of the theatre for her own use. So those contacted included a young woman called Dawn. She was given a message supposedly from her husband, who had died less than a month earlier, telling her that he supported her decision to turn off his life support machine. However, when hospital nurses had asked her whether she would like to speak to anybody about this decision, she had asked to speak to Doris Stokes. Stokes had spoken to Dawn by telephone, offering commiseration, and asked to be updated with the results of the tests that would determine whether Dawn's husband lived or died. Dawn described a number of personal details which Stokes had given unprompted to her mother on the phone. While Dawn found these convincing, Wilson suggests that Stokes obtained them from Dawn's aunt, who was also a prominent local spiritualist. Another participant was Marilyn Stenning, whose daughter Kerry had recently died in a car accident. She received a personal phone call from Stokes offering her front row seats for the Palladium performance. During the second half of this performance, members of the audience were chosen apparently at random. Wilson described this post-interval performance as much less convincing, where Stokes was relying on intelligent guesswork and fishing. Now, we go on to, if I can find, I wonder if, hang on, bear with me. Not that. So there's basically, I'll just tell you in a nutshell because I read it earlier. So she claimed to have helped law enforcement solve a couple of cases. Here we are. In her book, Voices in My Ears, Stokes claimed she had solved 2 murder cases in England. However, Detective Chief Superintendent Wilfred Brooks of the Lancashire Constabulary stated that Stokes made no contribution whatsoever to the detection of either murderer. Whilst in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, she also claimed that local murder victim Vic Weiss, or Vice, I don't know if you guys say it with a word or other, had contacted her with details of his murder. Former magician and high-profile skeptic James Randi contacted the Los Angeles Police Department, who informed him that all of the information supplied by Stokes was already available in the media. She could not provide any new information. So, I mean, you know, I've got to hand it to her. She had her wits about her, didn't she? And she knew how to con. But, you know, I do think that it's an example of how so many people, I mean, thousands and thousands of people can believe in someone who can market themselves very well, and somebody who is clever enough to be able to take tidbits of information, perhaps have a good memory of the obituaries they've read that week, and take it to an audience. I mean, that takes a lot of balls and a lot of guts. However, I think we'll move on from Doris now, but, you know, I think it just shows that we've got to be really wary. And I think it's our instinct, if we're not just out and out skeptics, it's our instinct to trust certainly little old ladies. But, you know, it's shocking how, you know, you can be conned, because in a way, I think she did bring comfort, but she was preying actually on people who were looking for the comfort. And yeah, that's kind of just amazing, really, isn't it, that she was that clever? So yeah, I don't know, guys, I would love to hear of your experiences. I'll tell you one of mine now, which was it had quite an impact on me. And I went into an audience with a spiritual medium in my local town. And I'd been to see her before and I'd watched her work. And I think I'd been twice before. And the first time, gosh, that's how long ago it was, you could actually smoke inside like a social setting. And she'd said to this lady some couple of generic things, and then said that this relative had told her to stop smoking. She's smoking too much. And I remember just looking and thinking, this lady has got a cigarette in her hand and the ashtray in front of her already has quite a few cigarette butts in. So, you know, I was very wary of this woman. But anyway, a few friends of mine was like, oh, let's go and see this woman again. And I went, and nobody ever came through for me and my friends. And even then I thought, okay, are there plants in the audience? But I could see some people were getting tearful. And then I thought, well, actually, now I'm thinking, did this woman already have contact with these people and invited these innocent people, not knowing they were plants, into the audience and said, come along, come and see me. And then she could reel off certain things, you know, maybe she'd had a one-to-one with someone. I'm not sure. But anyway, I was very skeptical about this woman. And then the third time I went, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to go again. Anyway, I went again. But the night before I went, okay, my mum had passed away probably 2 years earlier. And I was driving in my car. This was the night before I was going to this thing. And in my head, I spoke to my mum and I said, okay, Mum, I said, right, if you're coming through tomorrow, if you do come through and speak to me, you are going to have to mention our last trip away together. That is the only way I am ever going to believe it's you. Now, the Christmas before my mum died, I bought her tickets. I don't know if you guys did you have Il Divo out in America? They were like a kind of operatic boy band, all very dashing, you know, and they'd sing these amazing songs. I wasn't into them, but mum loved them. So I bought her 2 tickets to see them in Birmingham, which is a 4-hour trip from here. And we combined it with a trip to see her sister. And we went in the April. You know, Mum could have taken a mate, but she said, no, let's go together. I'm so glad we did, because that was Christmas. We went away in April and my mum passed away in the August. So I said to Mum, you're going to have to mention that trip. That's the only thing that will convince me it's you. And then I forgot about it. And then we went to this, it was like a room above a pub by the sea. And the weirdest thing, I swear, as I'm sitting here, I went with 2 friends and they smoked. I didn't smoke at the time, and they went out for a cigarette. And as I walked into the room and found my seat, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. It was really bizarre. Nothing had happened. You know, this lady hadn't come on. People were just finding seats. And I just was just fighting back tears, which had never happened before. So I was like, oh, that's really odd. Just get yourself together, girl. Just sit down. It's fine. So anyway, the night went on. And I was watching people's reactions. This woman was very precise and people were in tears. And you know, at the time I was thinking, well, they can't be planted because they're having genuine reactions and she's getting so much stuff right. And at the time, I didn't realise you could get innocent plants, you know, who've been invited and know no different. Anyway, it got to right at the end of the night. And again, nobody'd come through for me and my friends. And this woman had said to us, you know, I get names. Sometimes I know it's for somebody in a certain direction, but maybe it's for the person behind you or next to you. So she was focusing on the lady behind me. And she said, okay, I've got a Robert and a Sarah. And she also said that sometimes she gets names and they're for people who are, you know, it's about people who are living. So somebody might be sending a message to that name rather than this is someone who's passed, who's got that name, if you know what I mean. So anyway, Robert and Sarah. And I thought, well, my brother's Robert and I've got a cousin Sarah, but they're both living. And I just stayed quiet. And this woman behind me just kept saying, no, no. And she kept saying, anyone in this audience, you know, in that direction got a Robert and Sarah. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to put my hand up thinking, I don't think it's for me because they're both alive and it's a bit tentative. So she then said to me, okay, yeah, she said, the Robert is for you. The Sarah is definitely for the lady behind you. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll see what happens here. Maybe it's a message for my brother. So she said, yeah, Robert's for you. Robert's for you. And I was really careful not to give anything away. And this woman would not have known me from Adam. And I certainly didn't have anything about my brother on my Facebook or social media or anything. And so she looked at me and she said, no, it's your granddad. And, you know, my jaw hit the floor because my grandfather is called Robert. And I never, ever remember him because he died when I was 2. And that was my dad's dad. So immediately I nodded thinking, wow, I didn't even remember my poor granddad, you know. She said, yeah, I've got Robert here. It's your granddad. And she went on to tell me, oh, smart man in uniform. Again, generic stuff. So I just nodded. And then she said, he wants to send his love to a nurse. Does that mean anything to you? So I thought, well, yeah, because his daughter, she was the last of my dad's sisters who was alive, was a nurse and had dementia at the time. So I nodded. I said, yeah. Still a bit, you know, feet on the ground, you know, see what else she comes out with. And then she stopped. And this is the bit where I just said, she said, your mum's passed away, hasn't she? And I said, yes. And she sort of walked back and forth a bit on this stage with her microphone and said, Birmingham. And for a split second, I thought, Birmingham? I thought, I don't know anyone in Birmingham. And then I think every hair on my body stood on end because that is where I went with my mum on our last ever trip together. And then she said, I have no idea why she wants me to mention Birmingham, but she is adamant that I tell you Birmingham. And I was pretty wide-eyed at that point. And then she just walked back and forth. I wasn't giving anything away. I just nodded, thinking, wow. And then she said, April. We went in the April. I've still got the tickets here for Il Divo in April. And then she said, Hilton. I'm not sure what she means. We stayed in the Hilton. And I tell you now, I just suddenly became immersed in my own bubble, you know, when you're just in your own private kind of freaky moment. Then she said, she's telling me two times. Did she get married before? And I said, no. And then she said, okay, I get it. She said, there's another Robert, isn't there? She said, it's your brother. She said, father figure. And I just was like, yep, my brother is 20 years older than me. And there's no way she would know any of this stuff. None of this stuff was on any of my social media. This was about 2008 as well. And she said, that's what she's telling me. 2 times. She parented once and then she did it all over again with you. So I nodded. And then she said some things like, well, she's dancing again. My mum loved to dance. And she's walking beside you. And I can't remember. I think there was something else. I can't remember what else she said. But I remember driving home that night just thinking, I just felt this joy and this peace and this, you know, I'd asked my mum to tell me this stuff and to mention this stuff. And there it was. And I still cannot find a logical explanation for it at all. And now the story's going to go downhill because I was so intrigued. I then booked a one-to-one with her. She did those as well. And it was terrible. It was absolutely awful. She just did this kind of general chit chat with me and got things wrong. And I just sort of went away really confused, thinking, I don't get that at all. And I thought, maybe, do they dip in and out? You know, do they get moments of where they do connect and then other times they don't, but they try and wing it? So I haven't been back since because I didn't want to ruin it. I didn't want to kind of, I shouldn't have perhaps gone for the one-to-one because I was so gobsmacked by what she told me in the audience with. But yeah, I still to this day do not know how she knew that she had to tell me Birmingham, and that was really weird. And just relating to my mum, I mentioned that her sister's a bit witchy. She's still alive, my aunt. And not long after my mum died, I lived on my own, and I just remember sitting on the steps at home, and you know, I just cried. I just had this overwhelming grief, and I just said, Mum, you've got to tell me you're okay somehow. I don't care how you tell me. I need to know you're okay. I would say it was a week later, my aunt phoned me, and they had a little flat in Cyprus, and they just got back from holiday. And she said, no, Nellie, I've just got back from Cyprus, and I've just got to tell you that I was in the flat one night, and your mum, she said it's like she took over my whole body, and she just kept saying to me, I'm okay, I'm okay. And she said, I have to tell you that your mum's okay. And yeah, she's a bit witchy. I've got some really funny stories about my aunt. Oh my God, she does Reiki, or she did. She's in her 80s now, but she used to do Reiki healing and all this stuff. And oh, I went to her house, Angel, and she had her own sort of room upstairs, and she was doing all this Reiki on me and telling me all about my past lives. And she had this whole like sort of case of potions, and she was looking for a particular, because she does homeopathy and all of that stuff as well. And she's reading out the labels on jars. She's going, tarantula, scorpion, no, that's not it. I'm just lying there thinking, this is my aunt, and she's looking for potions, and two of them are scorpion and tarantula. And I found it really hard not to laugh. But God, it's so fascinating, isn't it? You know, it's absolutely fascinating. But yes, going back to that medium, Rondi, I think you're right. But then I think they should be honest. And she wasn't. She still took my £30, and I went thinking, I've just been robbed, absolutely robbed. And if I were an honest medium, maybe she was particularly skint at that moment, but I doubt it, because it was really hard to get an appointment with her, and it was £30 an hour. She still took my money, and I got nothing out of it at all. And I remember just thinking, oh, that is so disappointing. But yeah, she is cool, Christy. She is. But yeah, so that was my experience, my big experience with a medium. I mean, through my life, I've gone to tarot readings, and I've had a couple that were wows as well. And I've had a few weird things. Have you guys ever had any weird experiences yourselves where you've had like perhaps an odd premonition, or, you know, anything like that? Has anyone got anything to share? Would anyone like to come up and chat? It would be great if you did. But I understand if you don't. It's quite daunting going up for the first time. But I tell you, once you go up on panel once, you won't look back and you won't stop. Yeah, I know. That audience with, honestly, that was amazing to me. And I really feel like my mum was okay. And I do think, you know, that if you're open to seeing signs and things like that, they come to you. But yes, my aunt is, oh, she was always like it though. I remember even as a child, she was so eccentric. And yeah, she just, oh, she's fascinating. Even if I don't believe in a lot of what she's saying or I'm skeptical about it, she'd sit and tell me that we're all from different planets. And, you know, she'll go on about, I don't know if you guys have heard of David Icke, but she'll sort of go on about these blue, you know, some of us are blue bloods. That's because we're from a certain planet. And she'll say, why do you think all of us on Earth are from Earth? Who's to say we haven't all, you know, half of us haven't landed from another planet somewhere else? But I could listen to her all night. It's absolutely fascinating. And then another weird thing after my mum died was my mum was sort of in a coma. She had heart failure, and she was lying in this hospital bed, and my cousins and aunt came along, and my brother, and my aunt said, look, you and your cousins go off and have something to eat. So as I was going off for something to eat, I said to my cousin, I said, oh, you know, I hadn't been with anyone who died, and this was my mum. And I said, oh, I want to be with mum, but I'm scared. I said, and I really don't want to hear her last breath. I said, I think it's going to haunt me. It really scares me. I don't know why. I just had this sort of phobia of it. So anyway, that night, and my brother said this as well. He would only come in visiting hours between 7 and 8. But that particular night, he said, right, I'll be back probably about 1:30, 2 in the morning, he said, because spirits normally cross over at about 2:30. You know, sometimes I sit there and thinking, how am I related to these people? They're just bizarre. So I was like, okay, yeah, bye then. Anyway, sure enough, he turned up at 2, and I was shattered, and there was a chair next to my mum's bed, and my brother and my aunt were sitting the other side, and I nodded off. I fell asleep. And in my sleep, I then heard, she's gone. And I opened my eyes, and my mum had passed away. And I remember just being, again, quite gobsmacked, thinking, I got my wish. I think I genuinely believe that my mum waited for me to fall asleep before she went, because I got my wish. I was with her, and I never heard her last breath. And that was just madness. And it was 2:35 a.m. in the morning, and my brother said spirits normally cross over around 2:30. So yeah, really sort of comforting though. I just feel, you know, things like that make me think there's more out there. Yeah, really bizarre. And then the last one about my mum was my aunt again rang me. This was only a day or two after mum had died. And my mum had a friend called Betty. And my aunt said, oh, I phoned Betty to let her know, but she already knew, Neris. And I said, oh, okay. I said, how did she know? Because I must have been the morning after, because she said, because she sat on the end of Betty's bed. I said, what? My aunt had phoned Betty and said, Betty, I've got something to tell you. She said, I know what you're going to tell me. She said, she's passed away, hasn't she? And my aunt said, well, yes, how did you know? She said, because I woke up at around 2:45, 3 o'clock this morning, and she was sitting on the end of my bed. Can you believe that? And she said she was all dressed in blue, and she was smiling at me, and I knew she'd passed away. And then I got a bit annoyed. I was like, why didn't she come and sit on my bed? But actually, I think I would have absolutely crapped myself, to be fair. So I think she probably thought I wouldn't cope with that. But yeah, so that is why all of those stories I'm telling you, that is why I definitely think that there's something out there. I'm open-minded. I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. I'm just a kind of trust in the universe person, and I just trust in You know, I don't think any of us have got solid answers. I respect other people's beliefs and whatever brings us comfort in life. But isn't this world fascinating, the world of mediumship? So Angel's got something to share. What's this? I lay in bed fully clothed, wide awake the night my mum died because I was waiting for the phone to ring and tell us to come to the hospital. Oh, I am sorry. It's so hard, isn't it, losing your mum? My dad's gone as well, bless him. Yeah. Yes, so I don't know if anyone would like to come up. I did want to just ask you guys if you'd had any sort of weird things yourselves, you know, like where you've had sort of odd sensations or little premonitions. I had a real period in my life. I think I was sort of around 30 years old. And I kept having really pointless, really pointless little mini premonitions. I mean, they didn't mean anything. It's just like I could see what was going to happen 10 minutes later, or I could tune in, and really silly things. And you might laugh at me, but it would be, I've got a couple of examples. So when I lived in London, I remember going to get the tube, the subway, and this gorgeous little terrier was running scared, and it just shot off. I couldn't catch it. And of course, it was really busy roads, and I had to get to work, and I just thought, oh no, that poor little dog. And I couldn't do anything to help it because it had gone. This was seriously about 3 months later, and I was walking the same street, and in my head, I thought, I wonder what happened to that little dog. I hope he was okay. And I carried on walking, turned the corner, and there was the little dog in someone's front garden, obviously back at home. It was the exact same dog. I was like, oh, how bizarre. But I thought nothing of it. I just thought, well, that was a coincidence. And then my ex, this is really bizarre. It must be just some sort of intuition. I don't know. He was doing up a flat, okay? And he said, you'll never believe what bathroom tiles I've picked. Now, what a weird thing to say. And I swear, as I'm sitting here, all of a sudden in my head, I saw pebbles or grass. Pebbles or grass. And I just blurted out grass. And his jaw hit the ground. He said, yeah. And I just looked at him as if I don't know where it came from. Who has pretend grass tiles in their bathroom? I was just like, okay. No idea where that came from. I just blurted it out and I got it right. I was like, okay, that's really weird. And then I'd have these weird little sort of moments where I'd think of someone, right? I was walking to a shop, and this guy I thought of in my head, I never spoke a word to him in my life. It was like a chain of thought. His sister was in my year at school. She popped into my head. And then, you know, as you're walking along to the shop and your brain is just doing what it wants, I remember thinking, oh, she had a brother. Yeah, I think he was younger than me. Yeah, I think he was called Anton. I walked around the corner and walked into the local shop. And as I walked in through the shop door, he walked out. And I swear to God, I probably hadn't set eyes on him since I was like 14, and I was now 36 or something. Just truly bizarre. So I've had quite a lot of those, just really pointless little premonitions. And I had one that was horrible. I was on the tube. It was busy in London in the rush hour. And this is a bit gross. I'm sorry, guys. But I was going out with some friends, and there was about 6 of us sitting on the tube. We were going to the party. And I just glanced down the tube and saw this kind of guy sitting there. But as I just sort of glanced, and then as I looked away to look back at my friends, I had this vision that he had his thing out, his dick out. Sorry. I thought, what bizarre thing to that? It just came into my head. Anyway, I carried on chatting to my friend thinking that was bizarre. I turned around seriously about 30 seconds later and he was sitting directly opposite me and my girlfriends, and he was playing with himself in front of us all, but under his joggers. Unbelievable. And that again was like this weird premonition, but I haven't had that for years and years and years. I think I've just shut everything down and gone, nah, I don't want to see pointless things like that. But I know it sounds weird. But yeah, I've had those things, and I wondered if you guys did. But I'm going to just look at what Angel has to say here. I asked my mum to come to me to prove in heaven. Nothing. Then one night I was really upset, feeling, oh, well, what's the point? There's nothing. And I had a vivid dream. I dreamed my mum was a glowing figure walking ahead. I called out and she kept walking. I called out to her. She was walking towards an opening door. She stopped and turned to me. I said, stay, Mum. She said, I was with your brother. I've been with you, but you'll be fine. Your dad needs me now. Oh, that's amazing, Angel. And some dreams are really different, aren't they? I sometimes smell her perfume when I talk to her. I still talk out loud to her when I'm alone. Oh, that is just so sweet. And, you know, that's something actually my aunt told me, just some advice, but my aunt might be completely wrong. She said, always talk to them in your head because you're closer to their stream of consciousness. And I thought that was fascinating, but I think you do whatever you want to do, really. And I think there's just such a difference with certain dreams, because actually when my grandfather died, he was like 97 and he didn't know who I was. And I had 2 dreams about him, and they were just so different to any other dream. And they were really quick. They weren't long dreams. And I remember walking into his house. I could smell the house, everything. And my dad was sitting with him, and my dad hadn't passed away. And he said, oh, do you remember her, Tom? And he just looked at me and looked at my dad and said, of course I remember her, and winked at me. And then another dream, I was going into his house again. I could hear the door creak. I could smell the house. And I was walking up his stairs. It was proper little old Welsh terraced house. And I could hear him whistling above me. And he walked above me. And I saw him at the top of the stairs. And he just looked down and winked at me. And I woke up. But it's when I woke up, I felt such a feeling of peace and contentment. And I just knew that he was okay. It was really bizarre. And I was only probably in my 20s then. So I think, Angel, you saw your mum. That's my belief. I think she came back. And did you feel really comforted by it? Rondi, I don't know. I think you're laughing at perhaps the tube story, maybe the subway story. Oh, it was gross. The weird thing is, Rondi, I just started laughing. You know, you'd think that most girls and women would be kind of, oh, that's terrible. I just got these awful giggles. You know, like the shoulder shake, you get tears rolling down your face. And thinking back, I think that was probably the best reaction to have. This weirdo in front of us doing that. And it was rush hour. There were people everywhere. None of my friends noticed. I was just like, oh my God. And then he got up with this blooming tent pole and just casually walked off the tube. I was like, my God, what a weirdo. It's quite, when you think about it though, it's quite, you know, you wonder what the hell is wrong with him. What was he doing? Terrible. Yeah, I know, Rondi. I knew it wasn't about what Angel said. So Lisa's going to share now. I used to have dreams of my dad. I was trying to find him. I finally found him. I went up to him, told him I was going to take him home, but he said he was happy there. It felt like I was really there. Wow. Oh, did you guys find Angel and Lisa? Did you find that comforting? Because, you know, I do feel that they're sort of giving us messages. Batshit Crazy says, My aunt used to ask us to answer the phone seconds before it would ring. At first, we just looked at her like she was nuts until the phone rang, I guess. Wow. I believe it. Yes, I felt so at peace. Yeah, it's that feeling, isn't it? It's that, okay, I know, it's like a knowledge, isn't it? It's like, I know what that was, and I know what the message was, and I feel really calm and peaceful about it. That's how I felt. Oh, I know. But despite us missing our loved ones on this earth, I want what makes them happy, and that's how I get through grief. I think, well, it was their time to move on and do something else. Or there's a really, really good channel on YouTube, and I will try and find it for you guys because I haven't watched it for ages. And it's all these near-death experiences and what people describe. It's fascinating, absolutely. And these people are really kind of not batshit crazy. They seem to be completely, I experienced this, and I know, because a friend of mine, Kelly, she was so skeptical. And, that's stories for another day. I used to live in Taunton. I've moved around a bit. And we used to talk about ghosts because we had a few weird ghostly experiences in this really, really old, I'm talking Tudor times building, where this shop was that we were working in. I used to manage a shop there. And some odd things happened in that shop. And Kelly was always the one just like rolling her eyes. And she came to stay with me years later, and her grandfather had passed away. And she said, you know what? She said, I've had an experience and it's changed everything. I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, my granddad passed away, and I was sitting with my family at the wake in my grandma's conservatory, and I looked up and there was my granddad. She said, I swear, as I'm standing here, she said, he was just looking at me and smiling. And she said she looked away because she thought, oh, God, I'm losing the plot. Looked back and he was still there. And she said it was this immense feeling of peace. And she said it was like I was in another world for, a few seconds, probably 10 seconds in reality. But she says it was like she just knew that was him. And no matter if she blinked or looked away, he was still there. I could talk about this stuff all night. It's so fascinating. Native people believe our ancestors are always with us, ask for their help and guidance. Well, my aunt, who I was just talking about, this is going to make you laugh. Oh, she is, I love her. She is bonkers, but there's a lot to her as well. But we went to this kind of posh little restaurant. I think it's called Rishu in Piccadilly in London. Me, Mum, and my aunt, and we sat there having afternoon tea, which, trust me, I think I've only had 2 in my whole life. I'm not posh. But my aunt was, or she liked to be. We had this lovely afternoon tea, proper English tea. And then she started talking about her spirit guides, and she's quite loud. And she's got a really Welsh accent. And she said, well, she said, you see, I've got 2 spirit guides of my own. So okay, because I was really interested. She said, yes, she said, I've got Mr. Wong and Big Beaver. Well, I nearly spat my tea out. Big Beaver. Of course, Auntie Myra had no idea what is also called a beaver. I assume you guys in the US know what else is called a beaver, but Big Beaver, made me laugh out loud. Big Beaver, exactly, Angel. And she's so genuine, bless her, and I couldn't stop laughing. She was like, what he is? He's called Big Beaver. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, dear me. Mum got it. Mum was a bit more grounded than my aunt. But yeah, Oh yeah, white feathers. That's another thing. Let's have a look. Christy says, if I'm down or upset, I always see a white feather. A lot of people see those. It's butterflies for me. I always see a butterfly or a robin. Robins are another one, aren't they? I just saw someone say robin. Yeah, angel. I see a robin. Oh wow. Yeah, a friend of mine, her husband passed away very suddenly, and she sees robins as well. And what does Lisa say? My dad used to sing the song Downtown to me when I was down or sick. Now, every time I hear that song, I think he's telling me he is with me. That's lovely. Yeah, I love robins. And I've got one here. It comes right up to the back door. It's so sweet. They're really brave little things, aren't they? I know, Rondi, Big Beaver. Oh, she is a scream, bless her. And what does Angel say here? I believe some of us attract energy more than others, especially if you're skeptical. Spirit doesn't waste energy trying to contact them. Yes, exactly. And another thing my aunt believes, because she's quite open, she's very into reincarnation as well. She believes that when we pass away, we're given choices, we can go back and learn lessons, or we can move on to other things. And she's so adamant about this stuff. She's so definite about her beliefs, you know. And yeah, I think if you're open to it, it will come to you. I think I've just kind of lost touch a little bit. But yeah, I think we're empaths in here, definitely. I like that. Do you think it's Celtic roots, Nelly? My family are from Norway, Outer Hebrides, and so many aunties are a bit witchy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, ancient civilizations. We're all linked to them, I guess. But yeah, but you know that saying, "Old souls, are you an old soul?" I think you can see it when people, you know, if you believe that sort of thing, you know, you think, "Oh, they've been here before. They've been around before," because they're just too kind of, I don't know, settled and knowledgeable and slightly wise, and then you see other people who are just on a single plane, a single depth plane. You know, it's like no, there's nothing going deeper than what you see in front of you, and I quite like that. It's sweet. No, I haven't seen one. I did do a spooky live about things I've experienced, but have you seen one, Christy? Oh, dragonflies, Rondi. Oh, I love dragonflies. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, tell us, Christy, if you've seen one. Or anyone else. Have you seen a ghost? Yeah, deja vu is weird, isn't it? It's just like that moment. And then you sort of instantly forget it. It's a truly bizarre feeling. Oh, right, guys. If you don't mind, I have to do a quick bathroom break. I will be straight back. You tell us your ghost stories while I've gone. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. As you know or may not know, I care for my brother now. And just to sneak in a little bit about the Idaho Fall, and it'll be very quick, but I could hear there, and my brother's upstairs, just some very gentle moans. Not someone being attacked or footsteps or anything like that. I could just hear, I could tell he was up and uncomfortable. And yeah, I'll just leave that there because I think we all know that things in that house were loud, in my opinion. I don't believe nobody heard anything. So anyway, there we are. I'm going to quickly scroll through your comments that I missed. Angel, oh man, it's hard to write a long story here. Oh, I've had the same. Hello, I've had the same. Butterfly. My mum I sat on the floor with my head in my hands saying, God, I just want my mum. And I opened my eyes and this beautiful butterfly just flew around me and then flew off. It was amazing. I just knew. It's kind of like, don't you? It's just bizarre. And relating to that, I've got a very good friend and horrible story. Her partner, they're only in their 20s. They shared an apartment. And they'd gone to the pub and they'd had a few beers. And when they got home, she said, we had this kind of system where I would go and make the tea. And his name was Marty. Marty would choose the music and put the music on. And she said, for some reason that night, we did it the opposite way. She said, I put the music on and Marty went to make the tea. And she said, I fell asleep by the stereo. And she woke up. And she thought, what's going on? Where's Marty? And Marty, her partner, really young, had his head on the table and she went over and thought he'd fallen asleep. And he just sort of stirred and said, I'm dying. And he died. And they found out that some local youths in the pub had robbed a veterinary surgery and were experimenting with the drugs, and they slipped his pint. They slipped, I think, enough kind of tranquilizer, whatever it is. I haven't got the right drug there, but that would put down a horse or a cow. And yeah, he died. And she, I think maybe a year or two later, said, please just send me a sign, Marty. I need to know you're okay. And she woke up, and I think it was the end of May in the UK, and she said it was snowing. And she said it wasn't, of course you can have freak weather, but she said it was like she knew. It's that feeling. She said, I just finally felt peace and calm. And I knew my Marty had sent me a sign. She said it was snowing in May. And somebody made a little play of that in London and put it on stage. And yeah, I think it was ketamine, Angel. I think you're right. I think it was. But yeah, sorry. So I'm just going to go back. I can see, I want to read. Okay, Christy says, that's right, we were talking about ghosts. So you've seen lights and a shape. I would love you to expand on that if you haven't. Sorry, I'm just catching up on chat. And then Angel is going to tell us a long story. You guys have probably read it before me, but part 1. I lived in an old apartment here in Melbourne years ago. Always felt like someone was watching me sleep. Creepy. One day, broad daylight, I saw what I thought was my roommate in a dark hood. Oh, God, that's good. My brother's upstairs and obviously very, very poorly, but I'm downstairs on my own tonight with the dogs and I'm going to crap myself. I'm terrible with ghosts. I'm all kind of into this, spiritual stuff and the comforting stuff, but anything ghostly and things like that, oh God, that completely creeps me out. But I'm going to go for it, Angel. I'm going to go for it. So hang on, that's part 1. Hang on, bear with. Oh God, hang on. I just caught a glimpse of what's to come. Yes, Rondi, I've had that. In fact, I don't know if you've seen my video of oh God, what's that dreaming? You know that, what do you call it? I can't remember now, but I've got a video on it anyway, and I've had a few of those. It's, yeah, horrible. Right, Angel part 2. So roommate heard in the corner of the kitchen, thought they were trying to scare me, walked towards it. It glided through the wall. Stop it. Frozen for a second, I ran to the room it should have appeared, and nothing. Oh, that makes me go a bit weird. Part 3. Do I want to read part 3? Moved out soon after. Years later, at a party, I've got a story like this, Angel. I heard my roommate telling a story about seeing a hooded figure in our kitchen. You saw it too, I said. They hadn't mentioned it because they thought they were imagining things and didn't want to scare me. The end. It's not the end, is it? Because there's more. What's this? I've also heard voices, footsteps, ice cold hand on my shoulder, something pull my hair. But that's the only time I saw something. I'm not sure what I don't know if I'd rather see something or feel an ice cold hand on my shoulder. That is really creepy. Oh, yeah, I believe you because I've had things happen. I haven't seen anything, but I've had experiences. So I'm going back up to chat now because let's see, lights and a shape. Right, Christy, here we are, found it. When I was 14, me and my friend Julie was walking. It had got dark and was summer. We heard galloping of loads of horses' hoofs coming closer. When it came past, it was like a stagecoach. All our hair blew and we nearly fell over. We didn't see it, only felt it and heard it. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That reminds me of The Woman in Black. Do you guys know that? It's like a British ghost story. It's not based on fact, but there's that kind of stagecoach and horses in that, and that is one of the creepiest ghost stories. Susan, I can't remember her surname, whoever wrote it, Susan something. Christy's, oh gosh, that's true. I agree, Hope floats, the veil is oh so thin. It's so comforting in so many ways, but it's kind of, there's creepy moments, aren't there? And here's Christy with another one. I babysat in the creepiest house where the kids would talk about the little lady downstairs. There was an old servant's bell and it started ringing every 10 minutes. They had a seance and it was a woman called Ada who died in the house. Yeah, sage, burn the sage. Angel D. And loving Angel, but we all need to share the love. It's so easy to be closed and evil is easier to spread. I agree with that. And do you know what I do? I do this pretty much every night. Another thing my aunt said, it's that self-protection. I do visualize, and I think you're supposed to visualize something that brings you, that makes you feel safe, that protects you. So she said she wraps an invisible cloak around her in a colour that she finds comforting. I can't remember what a colour is, green or something. And she wraps herself in an imaginary cloak. Mine's golden rain, not showers. Oh God, you've got to have a laugh, haven't you? No, golden rain. And I see it coming down on me and my son and my home and my family, and I just do that to protect myself. Okay, we've got a funny story now, and I think we need that. What do you say? I drive a Kia, and it has those lights that flash to music. I didn't know you could get that in a car. Well, I never kept them on, and after my 5-year grandson passed, my lights were flashing to the music. Oh my God, your 5-year grandson passed. I'm so sorry. I was like, okay, buddy. Oh, that makes me really sad. So it wasn't too funny for me, but I suppose it's the comfort, isn't it? It's the comfort that they're around. Oh, Lisa, it was an apartment my daughter and I moved into. When she wasn't there, weird stuff would happen and I would hear a man's voice. I asked my neighbour if someone died. A man shot himself. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Yes, that's what my aunt says. Tell them to go to the light. But I'm like, no, don't talk to them. Well, again, it's in one of my spooky Sunday lives. This house that I bought, this was about 2000. Well, it would have been, I'd have been there when my mum passed away. So that would have been 2006. All this weird stuff was going on in the house. And I lived there on my own with my dog. And my aunt said to me, tell them to go to the light. But she said, do it in your head. Speak to them in your head. And, I did. And I went round the house and I said in my head, I know you're here. I don't mean you any harm. You are welcome to live here too. But, let's just leave it now, shall we? And then I said, go to the light, find the light and you'll be happier. And I was just doing all this stuff in my head because I was having to live there on my own. And I never had another problem. Honest to God, I never had another problem. Is it psychological that? I don't know. I know, Ronti, I know. As I was saying golden rain, I was like, oh God, I better put this right straight away. What's that? Oh, Ada joined in the seance. She was sitting next to my mum. I never set foot in there again. Oh, yeah, you're right. They like ringing bells and flickering lights and messing with doors. Well, that's what happened to me in my house. The bedroom door slowly shut twice. And it was a thick carpet. There was nothing in there. It was just slowly closed. And I was like, oh, I don't like it. I'm glad I'm not in that house anymore. Because actually, a few doors down is a pub. And beneath that pub, which is probably 100 yards from my house, is where they used to hang people. That's where they used to hang prisoners. And the courts were kind of next. Just in front of my house, you've got the courts one side, the old courts. They've got like tunnels going underneath that would lead to underneath this pub where they used to hang people. And yeah, and my house was part of an old convent school and there was still graffiti on the banisters. Oh, yeah, if you wake up oh, look at that. I quite often wake up at 3 a.m. genuinely, but nobody tells me anything and I'm quite happy with that. I don't think I want to be told anything. I just want to go back to sleep. I'm going to crap myself tonight now. I'm going to be scared. Oh, dear. I can't talk about poltergeist films, Christy. I can't do it. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I love it. And I do think some people have this gift. And I just think people, even if they've got that gift, they need to be responsible with it. And any good medium that I've seen or have heard of or known have said, that I might misinterpret the messages. I don't like it when people are 100% convinced that they are right and they're naming people as murderers and all the rest of it. That's just really wrong, in my opinion. Yeah. So, guys, I think I'm going to love you and leave you now. We'll do another one of these if you'd like. I really have enjoyed hanging out and chatting about this stuff, unless anybody has got anything else they would like to say. Yeah, I can't. No, I couldn't do seances or Ouija boards or anything like that. No, thank you. You just don't know what you're summoning up. It's not for me. Yeah, exactly, Angel. Try and sleep after this. And beware of the fakes out there, guys. I was thinking earlier, I would have only been about 8, right? And there was a local fair. This would have been about 1980. And, you know, it was just a little local fair. There was a little caravan with a fortune teller in it, a palm reader. And it was, I think it was 50p even then. I could buy a famous 5 book for 50p. Anyway, I thought this would be great fun. And I went in to see this sort of, that's what we called them in those days, the Gypsy Rosalie. She called herself Gypsy Rosalie or whatever. And she looked at my hands, and I looked back, and it was a load of old baloney. She told me that I was going to marry young. I was going to marry at 17. I was going to marry a soldier. I'd have 2 children. And then she took hold of my hand and she said, have you been poorly lately? I mean, to an 8-year-old, 7 or 8-year-old little girl. And I just said, no. Oh, she said, like this. And she said, well, and she took my hand and she said, well, then I think you will be poorly, she said, but don't worry, you will get well. And I walked out of there really scared. You know, it's like, you don't tell that to a child. And I didn't get married at 17. I haven't had 2 children, and I didn't marry a soldier. But so how irresponsible is that? Terrible. So, yes, Gypsy Rose Lee. I think she was. Gypsy Rose. Wasn't there a film as well, Gypsy Rose Lee? Or was it just Gypsy, I think? Gypsy. That was a musical, wasn't it? Yeah, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with you guys tonight. We'll do more of this. And yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to say before I went. And maybe we'll go on to kind of the mediums that are supposed to solve crimes. But do you remember, it was actually, if you followed the Nicola Bulley case, it was actually a medium who found her. I'll just finish on that, actually. Let me see. I'm still learning about this screen sharing. Bear with. I think it's present. Share screen. Okay, share screen. And it is Psychic Explains. Oh, I've got this now. Right. So let me see if you guys can see this. Now, I haven't done this before. Can I move it up and down, I wonder? So if I do that, I can't see, is that working? Hang on, your experience with them. Yes, I think it is. So I'm hoping this is going to work, guys. I'll just quickly do this and let's leave it on a sort of true crime link. Psychic Explains finding Nicola Bulley's body in Lancashire River. A psychic medium has explained how he reported discovering the body, which was identified as that of Nicola Bulley's, in the River Wyre. Jason Rothwell stated in a Facebook post that he and a friend came across the body and that he felt he needed to provide clarity on the situation due to a number of private inquiries and threads now circulating on social media. In the post, Mr. Rothwell said he was the person pictured standing near the river around the time the body was spotted and that himself and a friend reported it to police. The body, which was found on Sunday, was confirmed to be that of mum of 2 Miss Bulleys on Monday, February the 20th. So, of course, that was last year. He thanked Lancashire Police for how they treated the pair, saying, spiritualists or mediums are obviously not something the police come across every day. Mr. Rothwell, who lives in Oldham, stated he was not asked by police or Miss Bully's family to get involved in the case, but decided to use what he described as the gift he feels mediums possess to help find Miss Bulley. He offered his thoughts and prayers to the family and loved ones of Miss Bulley before adding he will not be providing any further information. See, I find it fascinating. You think about the Nicola Bulley case, and, you know, I'm on the fence as to whether the diver found her and the police ignored him. I don't know. There's 2 sides to that story, and I'm not sure who I believe. But of all the people in the world, it's a medium who finds her. And I find that a little bit odd. And on that, yes, I do too, Christy. I do. Yeah, I watched some of The Reckoning as well, but I started enjoying her, and then she kind of, sorry, can you hear my dog licking her feet? Doris, that's my Labrador. Lick, lick, lick. Good girl. That's her tail wagging on the floor. Yeah, and then I watched one or two that got a bit silly to me. They got a bit kind of reaching. Who's to say she's not right? But I might give her a go again. Yeah, I wasn't either. There were a couple of. I started off. I think Lana from Truth and Transparency put a video of hers up, and then I thought, oh, this is really interesting. And then as I watched, I found I can't quite remember. It was probably this time last year, and I thought, oh, she's kind of contradicting herself now. And then I kind of didn't watch anymore. I lost interest, but I might have another dip into that. And I know that Nonny's gone, but Nonny she has sent me the actual name of the channel, but his name is Jerry Adams. He's not a psychic, but he's done a couple of videos on the Reverend Donna Serafina, who I don't know what to think. I'm on the fence with Donna. I just actually, before I was due to come on this live, started watching the video she did of the Chad Daybell case and the children, because everyone was like, oh my God, her reading was spot on. So I thought, I need to watch this. And I had heard that she'd mentioned a necklace. So I started looking into all of the reports, and I thought, surely there's a description of what Tyler was particularly wearing. I wanted to find somewhere that there was a picture of her with a necklace on, or, you know, reports of what she wore, etc., was in more detail. I couldn't find anything. And obviously I didn't look for ages, probably a good hour I was hunting, because I was trying to catch her out, and I couldn't. And I didn't get time then to finish the video. So I might go and watch that in a bit, or tomorrow probably at this point. But that interests me, Angel. Yeah. God, I think we all need this trial now, don't we? Especially the victims' families, and Koberger, if he's innocent. I just want justice. I just want them to have the right person. But what a horrific thing to happen. It's so horrific. It's surreal at times. And, you know, as we look into all this true crime that we're watching, it scares me that there's so much evil in the world. You know, I hadn't really watched anything to do with Harmony Montgomery, and I started just this week thinking, right, I'll have a look at this because I don't know what's happened, and I kind of wish I hadn't. This poor little girl, and her own father's such a monster, and that it frightens me that so many parents are just evil. They're just monsters. Their own kids. Oh, do you know what's happening now? There's some scraping coming from behind my kitchen cupboard, and the dogs have gone all alert. And this has happened before, and I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, what's that? But it's okay. I discovered there's an old, like, little chimney opening inside the kitchen. It's on the outside wall, but it's right behind one of my kitchen cupboards, and there's a bird's nest in there. So, yeah, thankfully I saw the birds flying in and out the next day, but I did spend a whole evening, or night, I should say, thinking, what the hell is that in my kitchen? But it's okay. Right, Lisa, what's that? You should check out Dolores. I'm going to jot that down. I have got a pad and pen next to the computer now, because I keep saying to people, oh, I'll check that out. And afterwards I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember what it was. Dolores. I love that name, Dolores. That is just fantastic. I will. Thank you, Lisa. I'll definitely check that out. And yes, Sweetie Pilo. I really loved her before Brian Koberger was arrested. And I got really fed up with the blinkers. I just thought, you guys, you've got to, you know, I know that Sweetie Pilo had seen the video on on Laurie Vallow's children and JJ, and was so convinced that the Reverend Donna could do no wrong. And I just hate blinkers. You know, I said in that video last night, there's nothing more dangerous than a police force who have kind of made up their mind. And that is dangerous for everyone. We can make up our mind till the cows come home, but if new evidence comes to light or something else comes to light or something doesn't make sense, we have got to be able to take a step back and go, oh, okay, all right, I'm prepared to adjust my point of view and listen. And I'm more on the, I don't quite believe that Koberger is the one, but I am very prepared to hear that piece of evidence that puts me right, and I hope we're all like that. So I'm afraid I stopped watching Sweetie Pilo then, because she came out with some brilliant stuff before Koberger was arrested, and now it's all Donna, and that's why I think what Donna's doing is irresponsible. Just my opinion. And I like Donna. I think the Reverend Donna. I'm sure she's got gifts. I really do. I think she's very convincing, but I do think you can get is that correct? Missed messages. You can misinterpret, and you can things can get muddled up. Or she's a phenomenon and is so 100% confident in herself, she is happy to just call the killer Brian Koberger. But then I see what she uses to back up that information. She's using Papa Roger, the fat Brian had a crush on a girl when he was, God, what was he, 6th grade or something. And Vix, oh no, never mind. Oh, it's a long one. I think that rung alarm bells for me, that all this stuff she was using to back up her thoughts that it's Brian Koberger, or her proof, or whatever she thinks she's got. All the stuff she was using to back it up, none of it has been verified. She's like, she actually said, we heard it that Brian was up at all hours, and she believes that was him prepping for murder. But the neighbour said he was cleaning. He was cleaning at all hours. He's got OCD. He's got insomnia. God's sake, look at me now. It's midnight. I might not go to sleep till 1, 2 in the morning. If I lived, I've got a detached house, but if I lived with a neighbour next door, they might say, oh God, she was up at bloody 2 in the morning. I heard her washing up, or what, that makes me a killer? I think she's being incredibly irresponsible, and it does. I just don't like blinkers. I think we need this trial. I think we need to hear what else is out there, what other evidence there is. I was waiting for the car. I thought that was going to be it to convince me that it was Koberger, and there's nothing. And there's been nothing since where I've gone, oh, okay, that's dodgy. I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit of a hot mess, like the Delphi case. I just hope we get the truth. Did you guys follow the Kylie Rodney case? Yeah, I agree, Angel. You see, I think she has got a gift. I do think she has a gift. I just don't think Brian did. Certainly, I'm not convinced he did it on his own. Or, like I said yesterday, maybe he's that kind of Daniel Marsh kind of freak. And it took this long to fulfill a horrific fantasy of his. I don't know, but I don't know. There's just no, because Daniel Marsh actually kept the stuff he used in his mother's house, even though he didn't leave any DNA at the scene. He made other mistakes, and I just don't feel, I don't know. We're going to start delving into Idaho now, and I think that's for another time. Let me know as well, guys, if you want me to talk about any other cases, if anything comes to light that you find interesting, or you'd like me to highlight a case. I'm really determined to be back on this now, especially I can't work in the day because obviously my brother's so poorly. So if I'm going to be at home, I'm going to do more YouTube. And I think we could do all sorts of things in all sorts of cases. And I'm never going to be one to sort of go through the documents and do all that stuff with a fine-tooth comb. I do read them and I do have my opinions on them and I do look at them quite carefully. But as for interpreting them for you guys, I leave that to the solicitors, the lawyers, and people like Jules of All Trades, who's very good at that stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, the bakery theory. Oh, hi, Victoria. Hello. Oh, don't worry. I really mucked up earlier as well. I don't know what I did, but my microphone wouldn't work. So it all went a little bit odd. But yeah, it's been really fab. Thank you, Lisa. He's been quite perky today, quite cheerful. But yeah, he's not in a good way. But here we are. We just keep mucking through and seeing that we do the best we can. So, oh no, I haven't heard of Candy Montgomery. I'm going to write that down as well. Candy Montgomery. Yeah, look at me with my pad and pen getting all organised. I'm the sort of person who'll write it all down and then lose the pad. That's me. Oh, Jeremy Bambers. Right. Yeah, Jeremy, I've heard of him. I've looked. Thing is, I've watched so many true crime things, and guys, if you haven't, I know I've mentioned this a million times before, but go to EWU. It's an absolutely brilliant site. Explore with us. There are so many horrific cases on there, but the interrogations and the body language of the suspect, and God, it's teaching me loads about police techniques and all that sort of thing. And also, they're all horrible but intriguing true stories. So oh my God, look at that. Wow. Well, guys, I said I'm going to love you and leave you, and that was probably about 15 minutes ago. So I wish you all a very safe and happy Sunday night. And I might go and watch a comedy or something so I don't think about ghosts. Thank you so much for joining me. And please, always pop in the comments if you want me to look at something or chat about something. I'm going to see you in the week. And I might do a couple of daytime lives because I'm kind of at home and, it'd be quite fun and see who turns up, and it'll either work or it won't. So bye, everyone. Colonel Russell. Oh, I don't think I've seen that one. Call me. See, here we go. Another thing. I've watched so many EWUs. They've got a couple of channels though, haven't they? There's EWU Crime Stories. There's just EWU, and I think there's another one as well. And some of them are pretty freaky, but yeah, very well done. So sleep well, guys. Thank you so much for coming along, and take care. Lots of love to you all, and I will see you soon. If not here, probably in someone else's live as well. Thank you, everyone. Night, night.